What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly sports history for March 18th, 2024. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Monday edition of the podcast. Hopefully, everyone out there had a fun but safe St. Paddy's Day. Hopefully, nobody's too hungover today. I'm actually pretty good. I didn't really do too much. Had a few beers during the Temple game, but there was a point in time when it was an all-day thing, and now it's just kind of like, I try to do what I can because then I got to kind of, if I went out hard yesterday, I'd be hungover until Thursday. And that's what happens when you get older. But I hope you had fun and are able to get through your day with relatively little to no hangover symptoms. But as always, let's start with a recap of yesterday's question of the day. I asked you which former Cowboy who signed with the Eagles was the worst for the team. And this was pretty split down the middle, and it was Orlando Scandrick who took the top spot with 42% of the vote. If you remember, he signed and then got cut because he got burnt, and then went to social media and did the whole rounds of the ESPN media and all those morning talk shows and just ripped the Eagles. This was 2019, so this was like the Carson Wentz. I think 2019 was the only year he played the full season and then got the concussion in the playoffs. They did really seem to turn it around after that, so I guess we should credit Orlando for that. But then DeMarco Murray got 32% of the vote. Chris Boniol, yesterday's topic of conversation on this day, got 26%. But Orlando Scandrick is who you think is the most, or was the worst former Cowboy who signed with the Eagles. Thanks, as always, for participating in the question of the day. There will be another question later in the show. All right, time for our final bubble watch of the year. And the dream is over for the Temple Owls. The clock struck midnight for Cinderella, however analogy and metaphor you want to use. 85-69, you can tell that they just kind of ran out of gas. And I mean, on top of that, and again, nothing I haven't said previously on this podcast, excuse me, they're not a very good team anyway. They kind of caught that lightning in the bottle. But again, they just ran out of gas. They looked tired. I will say, hopefully, this is something that Adam Fisher can build on. Got some experience, and I will say some of the few games that I watched during the year, this was they played better and harder, and I don't know whether that's a testament to the coach just getting adjusted, being his first head coaching job, or what, but they played harder late in the season down the stretch and in the tournament. So hopefully that is something that they can build on. I see Miller with a career-high 32 points. You could tell he basically left everything he had out on the field or on the court. And I did notice, and I thought this was a pretty cool move, Adam Fisher did bring the entire team out for his press conference to kind of celebrate everything that they were able to accomplish this season. Again, I would love, I just want them to be back and playing meaningful games in March. This was a lot of fun, so hopefully he's able to build on that. One of the big issues is the NIL money. The Temple does have the Tough Fund, so if you're a Temple fan and want to help contribute, it's the Tough Fund. I think you can just go to the athletic department's website and find that. But hopefully this is something that we can build upon as Temple, because again, to me, March Madness is one of the greatest times of the year, and it's always better when you have a rooting interest in a team to go. So there will be no men's team in the tournament from Philadelphia this year. However, there will be a women's team. Drexel Women pulled off a good upset of the number 1 seed at Stony Brook, and they had a bigger lead and held off a furious Stony Brook rally at the end. Some key clutch foul shooting. We were able to switch over to the end of this game at halftime of the Temple game. They go into the tournament now as the 16 seed, and they will take the number 1 seed Texas Longhorns on Friday at 3. So at least we have one more March game that means something to watch in the Philadelphia area. Villanova and St. Joe's both made the NIT. We'll have more on those games as they come, just for a fair shake. But the bubble has burst for Temple. The Drexel women are dancing, and hopefully you enjoyed the bubble watch. Hopefully we won't even be on the bubble next year. We can get some more teams in, but no Philly teams in the tournament field for March Madness this year. Sixers in action tonight against the Heat. This is a huge game standings-wise because I believe – I didn't check the standings this morning, but when I checked yesterday, the Heat were only a half game behind the Sixers for the 8th spot. So good, big game tonight. Hopefully somebody else shows up besides Tyrese. Some positive notes on Joe. He practiced yesterday, non-contact. Was able to shoot and things like that. It's a good first step. We got roughly about a month left in the NBA season, so need him to... I guess whatever. We got to figure out where this team is, what this team is, what the future plan is going forward. Like it's going to be a pivotal week or two here in Sixers land. If you want more basketball coverage, go check out my buddies over at the Clashing Conferences podcast. They now have a basketball edition just in time for the playoffs. That's the Clashing Conferences podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. Phillies update, Schwarb's back. He's starting to get into the flow. He went 1 for 3 with an RBI. Jake Cave and Christian Pache both went 1 for 3 yesterday. I'm anxious to see where this is going to go. Johan Rojas did not play yesterday, but Zach Wheeler, not Chris Wheeler. That would be even more impressive if Chris Wheeler went 4 innings. But Zach Wheeler went 4 innings, gave up an earned run, a walk, and 3 Ks. Hoffman and Soto also pitched scoreless innings. Things are starting to take shape. I cannot wait for this season to get kicked off. And I was listening a little bit yesterday when I was going to the gym, and it was interesting that, and somebody else said, I think it was Jody McDonald on 94, basically said it was kind of the quietest spring training he's ever remembered, and I kind of agree with him. It's not, I mean, we're looking at Cave and Pache, and both of them might actually make the team for position battles, so but quiet spring trainings are good. You got guys that are just fine-tuning, getting ready for the season. I think this team is pumped and ready to go and focused. So let's just hope we get through the next week and a half with no major drama, injuries, whatever. So we're going to keep our fingers crossed with that. Zach Wheeler was announced, I believe it was after the game, as the opening day starter for the Phils. Aaron Nola had started the previous 6. He said, I'm cool with it. It's just one of those things. It's be good to give Zach Wheeler sort of that. Signing the contract. He's going to finish out his career here. So here, go start opening day. Again, I cannot wait. I am super pumped for this season to get underway. Eagles news, still have not signed Smitty. Howie, get it done today. You rested yesterday. I want to see that alert come. Sign Devontae Smith. But be sure to go to phillygoat.com. Check out the Saquon Barkley shirts. They have the Saquon squats and the Saquon fly shirts. It is, again, these guys are amazing. Get some shoes to match. Get geared up for the springtime. Get ready for the summer down the shore. I ordered my shoes Saturday night, so I'm looking forward to getting them. I got the fans, the Schmitties, and the Cape Mays. It was a tough decision too, I must say, because there's so many ones that I wanted to look at. But go to Philly Goat, see for yourself. When you check out, use the promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off your order. That's phillygoat.com. Promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off of your order. All right, today we're going to go back to 1968. And I know I say this all the time, and it's also been a while, but I could do this day in Wilt Chamberlain history. And there's always something that this guy did. But on this day, 1968, the Sixers beat the Lakers 158-128. And I'm going to put a little asterisk next to this, and I'll explain why in a minute. But on this day, Wilt Chamberlain became the only player in NBA history to record a quintuple-double. That's right, a quintuple. And for those of you who did not pay attention in math class, quintuple is 5. So he had double digits in 5 categories: 53 points, 32 rebounds, 14 assists, to go with 24 blocks and 11 steals. Let that sink in for a minute. 53 points, 32 rebounds, 14 assists, 24 blocks, and 11 steals. And I say there's an asterisk because blocks and steals were not official NBA stats back then. But when you have the legends that we had in Philly, Harvey Pollack is one. Those guys kept the stats in that. So that's just a ridiculous stat line, a quintuple-double. That year he averaged 24 points a game, 24 rebounds, 8.6 assists. And just to kind of compare where that stat line from this specific game ranked, obviously 53 points is just an average day for Wilt. He scored 100 in a game before. The 32 rebounds, not close to the record, which is 55, set by Wilt Chamberlain. Elmore Smith has the most assists in a game with 17. Larry Keenan and Kendall Gill have the most steal. Or now I can't read my writing. I'm sorry. The assists, 30 assists, is set by Scott Skiles. Elmore Smith had 17 blocks in a game, official blocks. And Larry Keenan and Kendall Gill have the record for 11 steals officially because of they just didn't count it. So Wilt's 24 blocks and his 11 steals do not count officially in the record book, but he's just a beast and just a ridiculous amount of just, you could, like I said, you could do this day in Wilt Chamberlain history. That 1967-68 team for the Sixers, they were the defending champs. They went 62-20, lost in the Eastern Finals to the Celtics 4-3. But Wilt had one of his best years of his career. 24 points, 24 rebounds, just a quintuple-double on this day in 1968 for Wilt Chamberlain. 53 points, 32 rebounds, 14 assists, 24 blocks, and 11 steals. Just let that sink in. Like he would have been like, even though the steals and blocks don't necessarily equate to a record because they didn't count, he would have been at the blocks. He would be number one. Assist or steals, he'd be tied for first. So not bad. But on this day in 1968, Wilt Chamberlain had a quintuple-double in the Sixers' 158-128 victory over the Lakers. And finally today, we are going to check out our Philly Sports Women's History Month Spotlight. And today it's Clara Schroth-Lomady, and she is a Philadelphia-born gymnast. She won the team's bronze medal in the 1948 Olympics and also competed in the 1952 Olympics. She won individual medals, or the individual medals were not awarded for women's gymnastics until 1952, or else she would have won the silver medal on the vault in 1948, but instead she had to settle for the team bronze. And it's a shame she missed out on that by 4 years. She won 39 amateur athletic union titles, including one in track and field. So she has 38 national titles in gymnastics and one in track and field, which was the standing broad jump, which I don't even think is an event anymore. It's like a elementary gym class thing now, but she was the world champion in it. 39 and in 2 different sports is just ridiculous. She won 6 national gymnastics all-around titles from 1946 to 1952. That record eventually was broken by Simone Biles. So think about how long that record lasted. She won 6, and it took until Simone Biles just recently broke that record by winning her 7th all-around national gymnastics title. She was inducted into the USA Gymnastics Hall of Fame in 1974. She was one of the first 4 women to be inducted. They had 4 of them inducted during that time. She worked locally in the Abington School District until she moved, I believe it was out further west, in Pennsylvania still, but out further west. She remained involved with the United States Gymnastics Federation until she died at 93 in 2014. She is a Philadelphia Sports Hall of Famer. She is the first and only gymnast to be inducted there. She's in the Pennsylvania Sports Hall of Fame. And I thought this was a very, very great story about her. Her parents gave her a nickel every day to take the trolley to go to her gymnastics practice. And she just would keep the nickel and run. So she was dedicated that way and smart financially. And it's just funny. I put that story in there because my great-grandmother used to always talk about her mom giving her a quarter. She lived in New York, and it was enough for her to take the train or the trolley, go down, watch a movie, grab popcorn and a soda, get a ride back home, and still have change from 25 cents. Now, I don't know if that's just the hyperbole that the older generation back then used to do. But Clara's story kind of reminded me of that. They give her a nickel for the trolley, and she put it in her pocket and just would run to her gymnastics practice. But today's Philly Sports Women's History Spotlight of the Day, Clara Schroth-Lomady, Philadelphia Gymnastics, one of the best to ever do it, and just a trailblazer all around. So shout out to you today, Clara. On this day in 1968, shout out to another Philly legend. Wilt Chamberlain had a quintuple-double in the Sixers' 158-128 win over the Lakers. I don't think you're ever going to see a quintuple-double. But that leads me to today's question of the day. We talk about it all the time, but Wilt Chamberlain, hands down, when you're talking about the best basketball players to ever play in the NBA, you have Wilt Chamberlain and then everybody else. I don't even think it's fair to even include Wilt because that's just, I think it's a given that he was the best. But of all of his accomplishments, which one is the best? And that is the question of the day. Is it the quintuple-double that we talked about today? Is it scoring 100 points in a game? Is it averaging 48.5 minutes per game when the NBA plays 48-minute games? Or is it averaging 50 points in a game over the course of a season? Let me know, 267-495-8531, which Wilt Chamberlain record is the most impressive? A quintuple-double, 100 points in a game, averaging 48.5 minutes per game for a whole season, or averaging 50 points per game for a whole season? Let me know. Maybe it's something else. If you have something else for Wilt, let's try to keep it clean, if you know what I'm saying. But what is Wilt's most impressive feat that he's ever accomplished on a basketball court? Keep it clean. But let me know. 267-495-8531. Get you into the voice and text line. Hopefully we get the Sixers to beat the Heat and start getting some separation and getting out of the play-in area, which will allow Joe a couple extra days to come back for the playoffs and be ready. I don't know. Maybe we're just grasping for anything here. It's going to be a little chilly today, but it does look like it's going to be a semi-decent day. So hopefully you can get out and burn off the hangover a little bit. But be safe out there. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History. I'm Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a Monday. And until next time, I'll see you when I see you.